I'd like to call to order the meeting of February 6, 2018. Would you all please stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag?
Lord, bless those who hold office in the government of our city, that they may do their work in a spirit of wisdom, kindness, and justice, and help them to use their authority to serve faithfully. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Boykin?
Here.
Willett?
Here.
Banner?
You'll receive the meeting minutes for January 16, 2018. Are there any questions or comments on those? Not those stand as presented. I have two things to read this evening. First says, Dear Mayor Blakeman, City of Columbiana Council, and City Manager Lance Willard, I am writing this request on behalf of the Columbiana Softball Association. We are seeking your permission to allow our organization to conduct a tag day on Saturday, April 21st, 2018, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Historically, we have contacted several local businesses that will allow us to have a number of young players and coaches stand outside of their establishment and collect money as a fundraiser for our organization. The money that we receive from this fundraiser goes towards the many raising expenses that we incur every year. Insurance, equipment, and field maintenance are some of the major expenses that we have as an organization. Tag Day has always been successful for our organization, and I hope that you will allow us to continue to conduct this fundraiser inside the city limits. Thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me personally. Sincerely, Matt Bell. Second one says, Greetings. The Fairfield Ruritan Club is requesting permission to have our annual classic custom and antique car show on Sunday, July 15th, 2018. This event is one of our best promotions to help support the Fairfield Ruritan Scholarship Fund, which is provided to students in Columbiana High School and Crestview High School each year. As in the past, we utilize South Main Street all day of the show, with the understanding the show does not actually begin until noon and ends at 4 p.m. We do not play any music or utilize the sound system until church is dismissed at noon. The street department normally places barricades in the alleys, which we use to control traffic the day of the show. Will this be provided again this year? Fairfield Ruritan Club will provide temporary restrooms located next to the AAA for the day of the event. We have a DJ playing music and making announcements all afternoon. Will you provide a contact in the city that can assist hooking up the system for our DJ? Thank you for your assistance. Sincerely, Rick Hermson. We received Firestone Park Recreation and Cemetery Board meeting minutes of January 23rd. Any comments on those? First up, we have Ron Detweiler, Firestone Park and Cemetery Board President, HRG representative, to discuss the Mirror Lake project. Let's come up.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, my purpose tonight is to introduce to you our second part of our program this evening. As you all are well aware, for a little over 3 years now, the Park Board, along with Council, has been working with the R&D Committee as far as many home improvement renovations in Firestone Park. During our last Park Board meeting, as you can see from the minutes, R&B and HRG came to us with the final proposal and plans for the Mirror Lake renovation program. They're going to give the same PowerPoint presentation to you this evening, but I would like to add before they come forward that we had a quite lively discussion after the PowerPoint, and I'm proud to say to you that the Park Board unanimously and enthusiastically voted in favor of going ahead with the Mirror Lake renovation project. there was a budget put on it. You can see most of the details in your packet. But at this time, Pat Tingle, who's head of R&D, would like to come forward, and then we're going to go over the plans with the architects.
Great.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for letting us make a presentation. Very important moment in our organizational life to make this presentation. Vaughn Muster, who is my cohort at R&D, is passing out our fundraising brochure. For sure you'll want to consider buying a paver or a bin for the park restoration. That particular flyer was a full-page ad in the Morning Journal about a month ago. We also mailed it out to everyone in our mailing area, so the whole city of Columbiana and the surrounding areas, people had an opportunity. We also have a website called restorecolumbiana.com where you'll find the form so that you can actually make application right on the internet. The second thing I would tell you is Ron also passed out a calendar. It's really a Columbiana Firestone calendar, is what it is. It's a fundraiser for us. And being it's February, we need to peddle them pretty fast because there's a calendar. That's a complimentary copy for all of you. We have a young man that's working for us in PR named Eric Holm. He did photography and helped us put it together. And, of course, Sittlers was very kind in printing it for us. So, the other thing I would mention to you before introducing the people from HRG, as this project has moved along, I have kept in constant contact with Bob Troyer, the attorney for the Firestone family. Everything that I present to you, that we present to you, has been sent to him at his request. So he knows exactly what we're doing, what our fundraising is, what our plans are, and so forth. I had a wonderful opportunity right about Christmas time. He called and asked if he could have breakfast with me. He was in town to check the Firestone Memorial. So we had breakfast at the Dutch House and had a really nice visit, and I brought him up to date on everything we were doing. And the thing that I was left with after talking to him was he was very pleased and was going to pass on to the Firestone family members how well we've done coming as far as we have in the 2 or 3 years that we've been organized. We're over $1 million now in our fundraising. We've gotten a wonderful big grant from the state. We've just started our fundraising with the pavers and the benches, but things are moving right along. And he was impressed. He was impressed. He said, please write me a letter. Tell me everything you're doing, your timeline, and everything that's going on. It's probably time for me to pass all this on to the Firestone family. We see that as very, very promising because from the very beginning we've hoped for their support. He also said, the reason we've waited is we're waiting to see if Columbiana supports your project. Please remember that. We've done some hard work in getting grants, and we've had some good personal donations, but we actually need to prove to the Firestone family that the city of Columbiana supports the park and our project. So anything you can do to help us in terms of fundraising and publicizing the project will be much appreciated. My other purpose tonight is to introduce Lauren Breslin from HRG and Bobby Cato, who are going to make a presentation that that Waller alluded to about the Mirror Lake restoration. And as you know, this is my donation in memory of my son and my only child. Okay, and we're very pleased with the design of it, and I think you will be too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lauren Breslin. I'm from HRG, and we've been working on the Mirror Lake improvements. I apologize for this floating mouth. Can everybody see, or do we need to turn off the light?
We need a light.
Actually, you're standing right in front of me. Can you do that off the side or
I
not?
will do it back here, so
Okay.
I'll see.
Thank you. Here, I'll get rid of that flipper.
Oh, good. Awesome. All right, so some of the main components that we've looked at the improvements project is dredging the lake, really cleaning up the water and the ecosystem in the pond, some lake edge improvements, lake edge stabilization, pedestrian walkways, access to the lake edge, landscaping, and a memorial garden. So just to kind of show you a little bit of what the existing conditions out on Mirror Lake are right now. I know there's a lot of algae, there's been a lot of sediment buildup in the lake. Another thing that you can note is the way that the lake edge is stabilized right now. Currently, you know, this was done a while ago, and for the time period, it was probably appropriate, but now it's really, you know, degraded and isn't very appealing. So we're really taking a more naturalistic approach to kind of restoring the lake edge. Bringing in aquatic plants, stones, dredging out the pond, making it a better ecosystem for fishing, allowing fish to be in there, having these aquatic plants growing. So this is an overview of the improvements. You can note that there's this trail that's looping around the pond. We added trees, lighting along that trail so that it's able to be used in the evening. So these two areas are the areas that we've identified to have accessibility to the lake's edge. You know, we will add this, as you can see down here in the bottom, more like a seawall, so that you can have this meandering trail coming down near the lake's edge. These will be areas where you'll be able to do fishing. We'll add benches, somewhere where you can really view the pond and the lake itself. So this is the area that we've identified for the memorial garden. We really wanted it to be in this specific spot. First of all, because of the views. You know, it's pretty much this area is viewable from the entire trail system that we're adding. It also is kind of out of the way from where that existing athletic field is. So this is the design work that we've done for the memorial garden itself. We really wanted it to be a very tranquil spot where you could, that's along the trail system where you can go and sit. You know, when I came to Columbiana and started learning about the history, there were three figures that really seemed to be big influences on the community: Harvey S. Firestone, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. These were really pillars of the community, and we kind of took that as very literally in the design. You can see up here in the corner, this will be the view of the garden from across the lake. These three statuesque pillars kind of looking over the lake. You have a beautiful reflection in the lake itself. And then up here in the corner, you'll have the pillars within the garden, and you'll have a more tranquil area. There will be a wall connecting the pillars on the interior of the garden. This will be a water feature, a circulation water feature. There will be nice water flowing over the edges of those walls, really adding to the tranquility of that space. So this area is just an area that we have identified as a conflict. We really wanted that trail system to kind of loop around the pond so that people could, you know, go for a walk and not have to have a point where they needed to turn around. In this space currently, there's the pond's outpour, and it's just like kind of like a concrete slab. We wanted to bring in a small pedestrian bridge, really nice, having these planters, stonework that mimics the seawalls that we're adding in, that will mimic the pavilion and that staircase that we have and the fountain up at the other end. So lastly, this area, you know, if you go to the pond today, I realize that the pavilion is probably the best view of the lake itself. But you know, I realize that it's lost when you're not using it. So we wanted this space to be an area where people could have those same visuals of the pond and not use the pavilion itself. So we've added these really beautiful terraces for where there will be seating, so that people could have that beautiful view and, you know, not have to be using the pavilion itself. And the terraces will mimic that same stonework that you'll see throughout. So all the spaces, everything that you'll see will be really unified. So those are the improvements, and do you have any questions?
You didn't include the memorial garden for my son.
You did. Yeah, it did.
No, I asked her to actually put it on.
So the David, yes, and the memorial garden will be named the David Allen Tingle Memorial Garden.
And it's behind the pillars, right?
Yes, So, behind the pillars, you can see this small, this podium right here. That will really kind of give a description of Harvey Firestone, Henry, Thomas Edison, and their involvement in the community, and also have a nice plaque dedicating the memorial garden to David.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Sure.
He didn't do anything, I asked her to do. There were 5 strings, she didn't do any one.
Is this the slide that you?
May want to mention some of the things that we talked about the other night, and that is that it's ADH accessible and complies with all of those features that are needed for handicapped personnel.
Yes.
And where that may apply up here.
Sure. Okay, so one of the spaces down here we wanted to make the trail accessible to, handicap accessibility. So you'll see 2 entrances to the trail. They're down here and up here. And they're basically the closest entrances to that trailway from the parking areas, and they will be handicap accessible. Along the trail, we're also going to have paths laid out for the benches, and some of those will include an extended 3 feet on that pad, so that wheelchairs can have the exact same placement as the benches themselves.
To ask, a while back, the original drawings that we were seeing of things had railings all over.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people either loved it or hated it. I don't see anything up here. Are those railings still in place or not? Or?
So that was also brought up in Park Board. The railings would be a part of these areas if they were to happen. We took them out originally because they did kind of make it feel a little bit more urban than what we wanted it to feel like, but this is also up to the community how you would feel about, the safety. There will be lifts on those seawalls so that, there is that break of somebody going right off of the edge. It also depends on height. So the seawalls, I expect them to be about 18 inches above where the water's edge is, which technically you don't really need the railings there, but it really is up to the community whether we put them there or not.
If you look at the lake in what would be the upper left-hand corner, it runs very, very close to the road, and right now it's separated basically by the drainage ditch. And I'm just curious as to how you plan on handling a pathway around there.
Yeah, so the pathway right there is going to act more like, if you visualize more of like a sidewalk, it is going to run right directly to the road, where there will be like a curb, onto breaking from where the road is to that edge. But this area all right here, like I said, we're redoing the stabilization of the lake itself, so we will make it work, topographically in that area to fit to make that trail fit in that area.
Is the lake going to have the same footprint it has now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oops,
and
sorry.
I question your dredging. I think, I wasn't around, but the lake originally was very shallow, and then it proceeded to get deep up at the I always call it the upper end, but, away from the pavilion. And I think that was a safety concern. If somebody would fall in, it was only knee deep, that you could stand up. You thinking along those lines, or,
So we are thinking about dredging it to a certain depth that is good for aquatic life. We know that fishing is one of the activities that was brought up that people wanted in the park. So we wanted the depth to be, you know, it's not all gonna be one depth, it's gonna be a little bit deeper, you know, enough for aquatic life fish to survive during winter, something a little deeper if it freezes over. So we are going to make it a little bit deeper. I'm not sure how deep it was back then, but deep enough to, you know, able to have aquatic life in there.
I think it looks wonderful.
See lots of wedding and homecoming and stuff, pictures like that taking place on these updates. Very nice.
What's the schedule for the work being done?
For the work being done, right now we're looking towards the end of February to put bids out for the dredging part of it. Right now we're just getting approvals back from environmental.
You think work would be completed before the 4th of July, or will it still be going on?
Now, I know we also brought this up. We can make it so that construction kind of breaks. I know that you guys have an event that you do in the park during the 4th of July, so we can set up the contracts in a way so that construction will, you know, be set aside during a certain point in time so that, you know, those events can happen.
It'd be wonderful if it was finished, but I mean, I know that's not necessarily possible.
Yeah.
What does it look like, a completion date for that?
Completion date, I think I can't tell you for sure, but September, fall, winter.
So it's gonna be about a 9-month project?
Yes, if we get the bids out in time and they come back what we want them to be.
How are you gonna address the spillway or the overflow?
So that overflow is pretty much going to remain the same. We're keeping that drain. I don't know if you can picture where that's staying where it is. It's pretty much just that concrete pad that's coming down, and we're going to address it in the same way as the stabilization. We're just going to make it, you know, a nice kind of river rock bed right there.
Are you planning to put any lighting along your walkway at all?
Yes. Yes. So there will be lighting along the walk. There also will be lighting in the garden itself. Yes. This is just those are the lights.
Skip could probably speak to this more than me, but Skip's gone to most, if not all, of the meetings for these conversations, and I know several members of the park board have as well. And the collaboration and the time involved in the investment, not only in money, but in your time and how you think this stuff through. I don't think you've missed a detail. And I think a lot of people have a lot of hands in it, but Pat, if it weren't for what you've done, we wouldn't be looking at this. It is something that will, our community and park are already nice, but this will take everything to a completely different level. And you're personally responsible for that.
Those lights that you're going to have around the walkway, are they, like walkway lights, or are they gonna be tall like street lights?
They're going to be tall. They're going to be similar to the lights that were put along Main Street and in the Pocket Park itself. Anybody? Yeah. Any other questions?
The way we originally structured this, the approval of this requires approval by council as well as by park board, so I'd like to make a motion to approve to go forward with it.
I'll second that.
I do kind of have one question just concerning the way contracts will be handled? Is this going to be done through the city, or is it going to be done through the, just who's gonna contract with who to make this happen?
The HRG will be working in conjunction with the R&B committee as they're holding on to the funds.
And there was also a cap, if you read the minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to, once we get this final approval, we would like to suggest to HRG to have, our city manager as a co-counsel, if you will, to help them out, with permits and a lot of the general manager things. So that's gonna be our way of keeping the park board and council involved with the project. Jim Thief, I believe, is going to be the general counsel on it, or the general contractor, and we're gonna ask that, Lance be an integral part of that also.
Okay. Are there any legal issues, Amanda, in terms of having someone working on city property to, I don't know what all the relationships are. I'm only asking the question just to make sure we know what we're doing.
We can make a call, but we've had other similar projects where they're covered.
Okay.
Usually they require to have their own insurance anyhow.
The city would likely be listed as an additional insured on this policy, so we can just make sure everything's in place to protect that aspect as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? A roll call?
Yes.
Souter?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Liston?
Yes.
Boggs?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move into, the manager report, while Lance is taking a quick break, I'd like to, welcome Greg Allison. He's here from, the Governor Kasich's office. He's the regional liaison for our part of the state, correct?
Yep.
He's here knowing that Lance is going to be talking about a recap of 2017 and where we're at for the year and where we're looking to go. And, he expressed an interest in being here to participate and see where the city's heading. And, while we're waiting, I'd like to say thank you to you as well as the governor's office and the state for all of the help in the various projects that we got. I know Lance has some information on that, but, the governor's office was very involved in helping make some of that happen, and thank you. So, we'll go into the manager's report.
Yeah, so first off, Brian alluded to, we opened the 7 of 14 intersection project is an ODOT project, so they actually opened the bids on the 25th of January, and the engineer's estimate, about $2.5 million just for construction, and that estimate needed to come in within 10% of that, and in order for them to award it, well, it came in about 6.9% over. So 7% of a big number is a big number. So after a couple series of thumbs and rest of nights, about 4 days of it, we talked to ODOT, and they actually notified us that they reached out and they were able to get more safety funds for the program to cover the entire difference. So we were very excited about that. It's upwards of $200,000. So very, very good, and thanks to the state for all your help. I remember you were here last year, and you know, the state's been really great to us. Last spring, just a general recap, this project was originally awarded with a grant of $1.7 million last spring. They wanted to, ODOT wanted to increase some of the safety standards out there at the intersection.
It was gonna add $325,000 to the project. ODOT stepped up. We were able to get $325,000 last spring, and now nearly $200,000, this last week, so, we're on track, and they should have, I believe they ordered it today, and that was, APO Toro that will be doing work. The Fairfield Avenue sidewalk project came in. That's a much smaller project, about $344,000 project. That came well under the engineer's estimate, so we're really excited about that. We're going to be sending everything down to the state, including an inspection engineer that's going to be chosen. We'll get that project moving here pretty quick. Give you an update on the CHIP program. We've been talking about that for the last couple of years. Marty Grimm of the CHIP program Community Action Agency let us know that 3 out of the 5 rehab units identified have been identified, and they're in different phases. And then 4 of the 8 home repairs. And this is the project that, like the home repairs, they might put on siding for somebody, or some new windows, or the rehab might even be converting your furnace from an old unit or electric unit to gas. So if anybody's interested in and if you qualify for that, you can call the Community Action Agency. They're still taking applications. The fire station went out to bid. We're going to be opening those bids on February 15th. Since the last meeting, we did apply for an ODOT grant application for that sidewalk that we mentioned here a few weeks ago. That deadline was February 2nd, which we met. We're also working with another engineer to look at, Justin and I have been working maybe to do another paving project through one of the ODOT projects, and we'll see how we fare in those. With that, I'll get on to the overview of 2017. Larry, you want to get those links there? Okay, so I'll give you a council overview, and we'll talk about some of the projects we've dealt with, some of the grants, community service that's prevalent in the community. We'll go over the city departments and then look at Columbiana's future. Council overview. Last year we finished up the information guide. We did the e-bill solution. That was done. You can now pay your bills online. Installed a new camera here in council chambers right up there. Makes it a little bit easier to transition to the YouTube and on the website. We passed a contract with the AFSCME, the Public Works employees of the city. Council updated the transmission electric rate, and that's a really big 69,000 kV rate. Council named Demand Banner, new city solicitor, and we're responsible for taking down or getting 5 light structures taken down in 2017, and we've done 14 total since 2016. So that's really great. We talked about it in 15 with Planning Commission and Council, kind of work together, and in those last 2 years we've been responsible for getting 14 of them down. So it's really, really nice. Projects, you've been at the meetings, you've heard that we're preparing for that ODOT project, the 7 to 14. Of course, we've been working on the water treatment plant, which consists of not only the plant, but some water lines, and also a new generator. We did the $1 million North Waterline project that runs from the industrial park to Pizza Hut, and we've been working on the Fairfield Avenue sidewalk, and the electric department did the north and south end electric convergence. I love this slide. Since 14, we've announced nearly $15 million of grants. You know, if you add them all up, that's a wonderful thing, and we've started out this year pretty well. If you do the math, I did it. We've got 3,200 accounts. That's about $4,500 of per account, if you will, over that $15 million. The citizens didn't have to come up with, and you know, if we would have borrowed that money at a low % interest, it would still be a lot of money. So I'm very excited and we're very blessed to be able to get all those. And those are very hard to get. It takes everybody working together, from the supervisors to administration to council, and local support. So we're really excited about that. Last year, I won't go through all these, but some of the notables, Pat already talked about the grant from ODOT and R&B. R&B leveraged some of the money that they had gotten for the park, and we were able to get a $350,000 grant. It was only 5% match, so that cut down to, we thought it was gonna be 20, so we got a 15% bonus there. A $325,000 grant that I mentioned, about 7 and 14 intersection project. We got another $100,000 through Omega. $1 million water line was back into the water project. So we had a construction budget for the water plant, but it had a 14% contingency, and we were able to put a water line back in within that contingency money, basically making it grant, because you gotta spend your own money first, and then you use your grant money, and you don't wanna leave any of that on the table. $1.4 million, we just announced that the state routes will be paved in 2019 in the city, and we'll be responsible for about $300,000. And then you can see Pat Tingle announced that she'll be donating the funds to improve Mirror Lake. Community service, I could literally go on for probably an hour on this, but you can see that we had the Columbiana Commons, Blakeman donated the Ace Hardware. They donated the leaf bags. They upgraded the gazebo, painted it, donated everything, and they're also going to do that the trail map at the walking trail. CCMA and the chamber both did appreciation day lunch for the employees. That was great. Nazarene Church has been a big part of Joy Christmas, both putting up and taking down. And Joy Christmas volunteers, Larry's here tonight, and Terry, you guys are great, the champions on this project. And to get volunteers to work 25 some odd days is a chore, and we really appreciate everybody that does come out and do that. It's a big event. Heartland Christian comes out to the park, and Terry says they have like 200 people that come out. They look like just ants crawling all around, and they're cleaning up the park. It's awesome. And then the Schwartzes donated a Christmas tree too. You've probably been up there to see the donation there. And then we'll go to the utilities. This is the overview of the city. A few years ago, we did a GIS, and we plotted all of our infrastructure. These slides have become a little bit more clear. They're layered all on top of each other right now. It's just to show you, as we peel back this onion, you can see what all the utilities that are out there. Pretty impressive. Wastewater plant, they did some rebuilds. The biggest thing that they did last year was the filter media replacement. That's done about every 3 to 4 years. We got some pictures for that. We've got some really talented people there, and they're able to work on a lot of stuff. Actually, we've got talented people in all the departments. I'm really proud of what they can do, and you'll see some pictures of that. So these are the wastewater lines. We think, Brian and I were talking, the last we heard is around 48 miles of wastewater lines in Columbiana. And Brian, Superintendent Brian Dickin, he has 4 employees that take care of a 2.34 million gallon a day wastewater plant, and responsible for all those lines out there. So you'll see we'll just keep, the theme will be the same throughout all these departments. It's impressive what they're able to get done. The wastewater plant's about a 5-acre complex, and they have to do all of that, take care of the ground, and also there's 10 lift stations throughout. So that's all over GIS. You're welcome to get on the city website, and actually you can pull this up pretty easily. It's a 188,000 gallon tank. They, drain those, I think every other year. They get down in there. All those little black spots are, they're aerators that the, guys go down there and clean the rags and, spray it up and fix anything that's broke on the walls or anything that's loose, big project. Simple motor rebuild, to them now. We used to send all this stuff out, but, I think they just attacked another one tonight, talented group. This is a clarifier, just, doing maintenance on it, spraying it down, 65-foot clarifier. More maintenance on oxidation ditch aerators. This is the filter replacement. These are, basically, pie-shaped skeletons that are wrapped with a, kind of like a wool material, and then you have to replace that every few years. There's the old is in the center there, and they're gonna take that out and then put the new in. So they were able to do that last year. A really big project. The key is you gotta do it when the flows are down, because you've gotta rely on those other two filters that take in all the flow. Water plant, we know that we did a lot on the infrastructure for the water plant. North side water line, that's $1 million project. Like I said, it goes from the industrial park to Pizza Hut. The new water plant itself, we did some work on some wells, rehabbed some wells. EPA came out with a new report requirement last year, and we put it together. I say we loosely, John did it all. He was able to get that up and going with the GIS, and we were able to turn that in. And we got some new equipment too, as you'll see. So there's all the water lines. 48 miles is what, 48 miles of water line. A lot of water lines. A lot of work out there that, you know, we overbreath, you know, sometimes, but, we really have some good infrastructure and a good crew to fix it if it happens to fail. And, they do have a water distribution crew, that are responsible for those lines, and 2 people on that crew. So if there's a water line break, maybe the other departments help or, pull out of the plant. 2016, this is the, field that the water plant was built, started. They're out there, they're actually putting the basement in here. So this slide, this is all basement stuff here. Got the forms up. They got a pumper truck that pumps the cement into the forms. But you take a look at these here. Those are 10-foot sticks of 8-inch pipe sticking out of the ground. The next slide is, they're working on it some more. They're backfilling up here. This thing's only got shorter because we backfilled. So what was, you know, a hole is now lots and lots and lots of backfill. Now we're getting up to the, getting pretty high up now. And then, this is a drone picture of the unit. You could actually spend an hour on the water plant upgrade alone. Those two pipes are right here, and they're about 10 inches out of the ground right now. And that picture was taken yesterday. You got the lime silo sticking up here in the back for treatment, and the main door right here. And that'll be done, should be done in the spring. Pretty cool picture of what they can do with, you've got the right equipment, they can pretty much do anything. They're setting that lime silo there. Got a new truck for the water and distribution. Park and Cemetery has been doing a lot of work out there. They regrouted the pools. They had done the regrouted the pools a couple years ago. They regrouted and painted the pools. Put a new roof on Pavilion number 2 and the old chapel. Started rehab of the old chapel. Last spring they worked with Park Board to update the signs and pool rigs. They also had a kind of a information day where the police met with the kind of train all the employees out there at the pool so they can resolve conflicts out there. They also rebuilt pool wall, tables and benches, put a camera system out there to help them with the safety out there, put backboards at the basketball court, reworked the sign out the industrial park. The park, they mow outside of out of the footprint of the park, and they came to me one day and said, hey, the industrial park sign's looking a little shabby, so they rebuilt it, made some phone calls, did a really nice job. You'll see that, they did some work around the walking trail pond and the, green helicopter, let's see, yeah, that'll be up there. Okay, R&B, hired Keith Kaiser to, put these flowers in, so stain all around the park, it's very nice. Been doing that for 2 years now. I'm getting ready for, the season, they're painting the pools, and this baby pool. This is the before picture, when that pool wall that, I was telling you about needs to be rebuilt. That's what it looks like now. Then you can see some of the benches, they, either reworked or painted too. The, old chapel in the upper room donated, $1,000, towards this. They started the work, they had to take all the windows out here, they put these I-beams through, and then there's bottle jacks, they actually jacked it up so they can rework the foundation. And they're in the process of, doing that now, all with the idea of, keeping the original type structure. We put shingles on this, but it does look like, let's try to make it look like slate. Walking trail, pond, if you've been around there, it was all, grown up. The park and the, street department worked together to clean that up, now you can see across. Mr. Rambo, Mr. Minkle, and Mr. Kennedy helped, get that in, probably others, but those are the three I can think of. Joy Christmas, this was a new display to the music by the, pavilion number 4. Electric department, they did some safety, they did the bucket rescue again, for all the departments. They did the electric conversion projects, I'll show you a little bit about those. They're helping out on the, communication fire. Performed a full line extension from Metz Road out to the water plant. We worked on a cash reserve policy for electric department. They had to install electric lines to the new well sites, put the banner poles up, worked on North Main Street, and we did, receive an award for the electric conversions that we mentioned, and they also had the south substation. With all the electric lines, I believe that's, over 30 miles. Is it 30 or 40, Doug? 40. Well, it's over 40. 40 is over 30, I guess. So, yeah, again, we've, got a lot of lines. We're gonna try to run a loop out somewhere out here to, Route 7, kind of loop that in the next year or so, hopefully this year. And, again, we've got a superintendent with, a crew of 4 to, handle the maintenance and such on this. You've got, the south end voltage conversion, which was affected over 200 homes, and, the water plant, which is right here, and also saved a lot was part of this. So we had like 6 crews out there on that project to, convert all those over a 1-day period, got everybody back online. This is the north end conversion where, Pizza Hut is done, the, Plaza's here, Dutch House is here, they redid all that, converted it from 4 kV to 12 kV. It runs more efficient, and the south end conversion actually, been working on it for about 10 years, so you gotta put new transformers in to be able to do that. And we've been doing it for about 10 years. This is a line extension out Metz and down to the water plant. replacing the poles, the new poles. The people that put the nodes in here, there's the poles, the node. I'm not sure if it's on the same pole or not, but this one they donated. And, we got one sign up there this year. North main light, replacement project, we had those lights, in stock for about 12 years, or, no, I don't know how long it's been. How long has that been, Doug?
2012.
2012. So 6 years we've had those, and we were able to do that big project. Had a lot of people involved in that. Street department, they do a lot of mowing. Tried a new thing this year using a Durapatch machine. They used it on Route 14. They did all the side replacements in zone 3 and 4. Basically, we quadrant the city. They did 2 of the quadrants this year, and they're all done this year. The new regulations required us to upgrade them, so they did all the stop sign, light signs, and they also GIS those positions and put stickers on the back, and we can now kind of track those signs. Blacktop, we got 2.1 miles done. Did 1.5 miles through the city. And CDBG did some, and then the cemetery, we used some, or did some paving out there. Brush and leaves, did over 100 loads of those. Again, we worked with Ace on those leaf bags. Did town cleanup, 10 40 cubic yard dumpsters, those are the big boys. We filled those all up. We got one of them donated by the county waste district. 16, 17, the winter of plowed 25 times, or salted 25 times, and used 500 tons of salt. We're past that, and I'm sure gonna go way past it tomorrow. They did the 900 GIS points. We got some new equipment that I'll show you, and oversaw a paver project. Did some store maintenance, and we got the roof on the garage replaced. First time we've had a sidearm mower. Really nice maintenance, you know, of the roads, and it really looks good. This is an 8-foot used paver that Jesse found in an auction or something, and we went and picked it up and reworked it, and they actually used that out at the cemetery. Got a used tack truck. This is we always have to rent one when we pave, so he found this used one that's going to pay for itself in 2 years. This is a paver project. We got all those pavers donated. We just had to pay for the labor, so we were really happy to do that. Those were, I believe they were 10 years old, so you know, they had been there for a while. These are all the stormwater lines. We've been talking about stormwater. In 2009, we did that stormwater study. We wrote everything down that we've got, and then we converted that over to the GIS found on here. I don't have the footage of that. I did not get that number. Springfield Road, they did some work on there. If you're coming around the park there. This is on on 14. This was part of the water plant project. The water line project, I should say. This is there's a storm drainage down on Friend Street near the railroad tracks, and this is just not moving very well. So after they were done, it's moving really nice. They put some riprap in there. They were cleaning out ditches. Very important to maintain your ditches to prolong your roads. We had a company do the garage roof. And then they do their paving again. Jesse, superintendent's got 4 people to work for him, and then it's all hands on deck from all the other departments. We really appreciate them working together to be able to pull off the paving. Police department, they worked on some departmental policies and procedures. They standardized all their handguns. They had a, committee that, kind of researched and figured out what handgun to pick. When you do that, it's a safety thing. Everybody has the same ammunition, and also, standardizing makes it cheaper to buy all one type of, ammunition. Once again, the chamber honored the safety forces that the town light up, so that was pretty cool. We have more and more state mandated training. I know the chief and the dispatchers went for an entire week of training. And then, something new, last year, they worked on the HEAT program, Hometown Enforcement Against Trafficking. That's all kinds of trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, there's a third one, I can't remember. But, he'll talk about it in a little bit. Wade Goley was named sergeant. We picked up a few pieces of equipment, thermal imaging equipment and inspection camera. And they've been doing Officer Granching's been doing a canine feasibility study, which I'm gonna have the chief talk about in a little while. And, we represented at, Officer Leo's funeral up in Girard. This is Project, HEAT. They started, really cracking down on the, focusing on trafficking of all sorts. This is one of the traffic stops here. Right here is a camera that they're using. It's a 6-foot fiber optic camera that they can look under vehicles to look for drugs. Officer Granching having a good time there. Some of the stuff they found. Looks like that pipe's made out of some type of bone and marijuana, and then there's some, I believe it was crack. Here's something, you read about this in the paper. We had a call about some plants. They went out and dug them up and brought them in. It's marijuana plants. Thermal imaging camera that they have. The image on the left is typical night vision of the same exact spot as where this thermal imaging camera is. So there's a guy there that's standing there. He's also standing, the same guy standing right there in that picture. So, this gives them a pretty good opportunity at night with this, new piece of equipment to, find somebody in the woods. Save a lot, got robbed. You read about that in the paper where that, one kid ran through the woods and the briars and such. You can see the taser probes right here in this jacket. He left his jacket there, and Chief got a whole story about it, but basically we sent that jacket out for DNA testing and actually had to, wait a couple weeks on it, I think, but they were actually able to identify who that was and make the arrest from there. This is a picture that the chief gave me of one of the original K-9 units in Youngstown. This is Federal Plaza. And what's crazy about this is Officer Granchie's father right here. He's working that dog right there. Fire department, 159 calls. That's 8 up from last year. They always do a lot of training hours, about 1,000 hours. We did 55 fire inspections, worked on the Southside Fire Station, getting that up and going. Worked on the siren, put a new generator in, and had a safety day. Picture image of the Southside Fire Station, 3 bays, office on the right. Some training. These new face pieces are heat resistant. They were able to purchase those last year. LEDs for the truck. New generator back of the main fire station. Columbiana EMS, big thing was EMS levy was renewed. Had almost nearly 300 more calls than 2016. Only had 7 days last year, I believe, without a call. So all the other days had calls. That's a picture of that heart monitor on there, Skip, for you coming up. We bought these heart monitors. They were cost about $75,000 for two of them, and we actually applied for a grant. We weren't able to get that, but we went ahead and put it in the budget. Again, we've got community service going on in all the departments. The EMS did a book drive. They teamed up with the school. You'll see a picture of that. Did a blood pressure clinic at the street fair. They did a cancer awareness, and a little premature, but Kelly Hefner was she'll be receiving an award here this month from the chamber, so we're excited about that. There's a cardiac monitor, among other things. This is an ECG machine. It will shock. It will also monitor carbon dioxide, gas, I guess. But the really neat thing to me is it actually has the ability to send all that information to whatever hospital they're going to before they get there. Akron Children's Book Drive. Community Service Award. Should be getting that this month. Columbiana's future, we're always talking about the fiber optic communication. We're going to continue to work with the Port Authority. We'll meet with them probably once a month. We're going to continue the economic development and business attraction, new industrial park. Asset management's always important. We're talking about storm utility here at the council. Town center and marketplace is very important. Continue to work with R&B. It's been great. Continue to train and for standards, and then size of the workforce. We're always looking at that. Exactly. So
this is where the heart monitor comes in.
For Jesse and the driver. So, got a story. You see this sign? This sign right here, they put that sign up, and by the time that's a brand new sign, put it up. By the time the guys got back to the shop, the phone was ringing, saying, hey, somebody hit it. Well, they thought we were messing with them, and we weren't. So do you have any questions?
The e-billing, how much is that paid off for us to have gone that route and add that?
It was approaching what, $1,200 to $1,500 a month at one point.
It was the credit card fees were going to probably run us close to $25,000 a year. It's down very significantly. We still do some credit cards, especially for the income tax. We do credit cards, and when people come in to sign up for the utilities that don't have an account and want us to pay their deposit with a credit card, we still use it for that. So there is some fees, but they're minor. So I would say we probably and we only pay a service fee each month of about $100 to it's called Invoice Cloud, who is the system is through. So I would say, without doing any actually looking at any figures, because it hasn't even been a year yet, but we probably are going to save at least $20,000 a year on the fees and credit card fees.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, and one of the things I do want to point out about that, not to go on, but you don't have to use it to pay your bill. You can, because there is a fee to use it, but you can get an email, you can get your bill emailed to you, and instead of waiting for that card to come in the mail, which sometimes it doesn't come in the mail, and so you can get it emailed to you, and you can see your bill, you can view it. Looks exactly like you get the one in the mail. And so you can use it for that. You don't have to use it to pay your bill. You can still pay it by mailing it, by stopping in here, or that way. It's
convenient to use without having to use the payment system.
Look back to your previous,
Yes, if you use it, if you use it to pay it, then the history will be on there, yeah.
In conclusion, we had a big year last year, and, I'd like to thank all of you for working together to get all that done, and also all the superintendents that are out here, and, we really appreciate all you working together to get all that stuff done. It's a big deal. We're done with that. I have one, I'm gonna have the chief talk real quick about something that's coming up. I mentioned a little bit, but, Chief, you wanna go for it?
Yeah, Brian Granchi is a guy that's just a great officer. This guy is just really dedicated to doing what he's doing. He's been coming to me for over a year doing research on a canine program, and he calls it by the community and for the community. He wants to talk about a dual-purpose dog, a dog that would be good for search and apprehension as well as tracking and drugs. It does all those things. The goal that he has is he's arranged to, or he believes 100% that he can get this completely funded through donations from people who have come to him offering support from this community to get this thing off the ground. We're talking about $60,000 as the goal initially, with a goal secondarily to that of $100,000. These folks have talked to us, and they feel very confident that they'd be able to do that, which means that all the things we've asked him to come up with in terms of funding would not come out of taxpayer dollars, but would be funded by this community, for this community, to support the HEAT program. We bring the HEAT. What we do is we try to make this place inhospitable to the criminal element. We want you to know that if you come here, there's a high likelihood that you're going to get detected and caught. And that's the message we want to send. All the things you see happening around us and all the indictments that came down, all the things that happen with all the other canine units, that pushes the criminal element to easier targets. And right now, that could be us, and we don't want it to be us. So this is a response to that. He's done an amazing amount of work on this thing, and every time he came to me, I came up with more and more things I needed to know, and more questions and roadblocks, I guess. What if this? What if that? He's answered every single thing that I've asked him. And he's got a presentation he put together and gave me, and he's identified choke points, interdiction routes. There's only so many ways in and out of this town. We have intelligence-led policing now, where we're gathering intelligence on those we stop, what they're involved in, how they have a nexus with each other, and certain addresses within the community that we then attack in terms of enforcement. All those things are tying in. On the other side of that, we're involved in CIT, where we're looking for treatment and education options for addicts and others that are committing these crimes, to not necessarily arrest your way out of a problem, but have a holistic approach to look at it from all different angles and give everybody a chance to make their life better and to correct the problem in other ways besides just going to prison. Because they get back out and one will reoffend without aftercare and support. All these things are part of the HEAT program and the proposed canine program. But the whole thing, I told him, if we're to get this thing off the ground, we need to find out if you can really do what you told me you can do. He is so far down the road with this, and I'm just blown away and impressed. And I really believe he's going to meet the goal of getting this thing funded and get it off the ground. We've identified a spot for him to go be trained. We've identified a kennel to produce the dog. We've identified all these elements to this program. We even have policy and procedure, this industry best practices and national standards as part of our updates to those policies. So just to give you a little update on that, that's the direction we're having. It's a little bit of an adjustment, a course correction, if you will, trying to have a more local focus to this and to keep our community as safe as possible and to use that dog for community events as well. This dog will be aggressive enough to do apprehension work, like the guy that got away after the jacket stopped the taser and he went off to the brambles and the brush. He wouldn't have got away from the dog, I can tell you that right now. I'm a former canine handler and commander of a canine unit. It ain't happening. It ain't getting away. So that's where we're at with it. If you've got any questions on the HEAT program or on the proposed canine program, I'll try to answer.
What's the dog cost and what's the lead time to get one?
The dog, and the training costs around $14,000. Then you have to outfit a vehicle. You have to, of course, have veterinary care and food. He's got the food donated for the next couple of years from Blackwood Dog Food. You pick it right there at Bo's Pet Shop. They donate the canine program. So that's for the dog itself, the car and the upfitting. That's another, the car's around $26,500, the upfitting around another $10,000. The training in the hotels, the food for him to go there, all this stuff he's got figured out. It's around $55,000 to get it off the ground totally. As far as the timeline, we will look to get him in school, late winter, early spring, have the dog operational by June. So it's a short time frame. I said, sure, you're gonna raise this kind of money. He swears he's got commitments to get this done in 30 to 45 days. And, you know, if anybody's gonna do it, this young man will get that done. I'm very impressed by what he contributed to this department. The picture you saw, that was his dad in 1988. He was one of the first canine handlers in the area. So Brian's he's got a chip on his shoulder about it. He wants to be as good as the old man, and that's a great motivation.
You mean
cares about the community.
Next June, right? Or you mean 5 months from now?
5 months from right now. That's the goal. I don't like to say stuff like that out loud. You know what happens. But I'll tell you what.
Next June. You meant next June.
To me it motivates, and I mean this to you. To me it motivates. So let's try and see if we can get this done. That's the goal. Questions? I appreciate it. If you have any questions, give me a call.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Mike?
No, thanks.
Good stuff. You'll receive the bill list for February 6th. Any comments on that? There's no full business. Due to the length of the ordinances, can I have a motion to read them by title only and to read A and B as an emergency?